All right, so today we're diving deep into hip-hop feuds and allegations.
Well,
And we've got a ton of YouTube videos and interviews
yeah,
breaking down some pretty explosive situations.
it's a lot.
It's messy, it's dramatic, and it might even make you rethink what loyalty and betrayal really mean,
Yeah.
in the world of hip-hop.
Yeah, in this world.
So think of this deep dive as your guide to really understanding what's going on behind the scenes.
The behind-the-scenes stuff.
With some of the biggest names in the game.
Absolutely. And what's so captivating about these stories is they're not just about, personal clashes,
Right.
These conflicts often reflect these, larger issues of power and respect and legacy within hip-hop.
Exactly. And you see all of that playing out.
Yeah.
In a big way. In our first story,
Yeah.
it involves Big Meech, Rick Ross,
Well.
and 50 Cent.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you, it is a whole tangled web of shifting alliances and accusations of snitching.
Right.
You might remember Big Meech as the co-founder of BMF.
Which, for those who don't know, was a notorious drug trafficking organization.
It's huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
He was recently released from prison and was hoping to make this big comeback. Even had a concert planned in Miami.
Yeah. Big comeback concert.
Yeah.
Which is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Right? Because Big Meech seems to have formed an alliance with Rick Ross.
You know what I'm saying?
And even appeared in a video promoting one of Ross's car shows.
Okay.
Which was seen as a direct snub to 50 Cent.
Right.
Who had actually been instrumental in keeping the BMF story alive.
Right.
Through the show, BMF.
Yeah, 50 Cent produced and even starred in that show.
Yeah, he was in it.
Which was all about Big Meech and the rise and fall of BMF.
Totally.
So to see Big Meech seemingly siding with his rival Rick Ross.
Right.
Well, let's just say it raised a lot of eyebrows.
Yeah, a lot of people were talking about that.
Yeah, and then to make matters even worse,
Right.
Big Meech's comeback concert was suddenly canceled.
Canceled last minute.
Yeah. The official reason given was unforeseen circumstances.
Right.
But a lot of people believe that 50 Cent might have used his influence behind the scenes to,
Make it happen.
to kind of pull some strings.
Yeah.
I mean, he even posted the cancellation notice on his Instagram
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
with a caption that basically said, "Don't blame me."
Oh, my gosh.
Pretty savage, right?
So 50 Cent, it's classic 50 Cent.
Right.
To just throw shade and stir the pot.
Classic 50.
But there's another layer to this whole situation that makes it even more complex.
Right.
Big Meech's son, Lil Meech,
Yeah.
who also stars in the BMF show,
Yeah.
got caught right in the middle of this whole mess.
Right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And this is where the accusations of betrayal really hit hard.
Okay.
Some private text messages between Lil Meech and 50 Cent were leaked.
Oh, wow.
And in those messages, Lil Meech revealed that he was actually getting financial support from Rick Ross
Okay.
while waiting for the next season of BMF to film.
So Rick Ross was giving Big Meech money.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
That's huge.
Considering the history between Rick Ross and 50 Cent.
I mean, yeah, that's a big deal.
Huge.
Especially with their history.
Right.
And Lil Meech was even pleading with 50 Cent in those texts,
Oh.
saying things like he'd take the shirt off his back for him and that he was still loyal.
Oh, wow.
But 50 Cent wasn't having any of it.
Okay.
He went on to publicly call out both Big Meech and Lil Meech
Okay.
for their disloyalty.
Right.
Not only that, he canceled season 4 of BMF.
Wow, that's a serious power move by 50 Cent.
Yeah,
To cancel a successful show just to make a point.
right, to prove a point.
It really shows you how much influence he has in the industry.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
And he didn't stop there.
What?
50 Cent also started mocking Lil Meech online for trying to get paid promotions on Instagram,
Oh, my gosh.
basically implying that he was desperate for cash.
Oh, wow.
He even suggested that Lil Meech should join the reality show, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta.
Ouch, that's got to sting.
Yeah.
Especially for someone trying to build a career in the industry.
Right.
The whole situation brings up some interesting questions about what snitching means in hip-hop culture.
Yeah.
It's such a serious accusation, and it can really damage someone's reputation.
Yeah, you're right. Snitching is considered a major violation of trust in the hip-hop community.
Right.
And it stems from a code of silence that's
Yeah.
often linked to street life and a distrust of law enforcement.
Yeah.
And if someone is labeled a snitch,
Mm-hmm.
it can be incredibly difficult for them to recover their credibility.
So with all of this drama unfolding,
Yeah.
another major player decided to enter the fray.
Great.
Boosie Badazz.
Oh, Boosie.
Yeah, he came out publicly supporting Big Meech,
Yeah.
even offering to perform at his canceled concert for free.
For free, that's loyalty.
Yeah.
Boosie's loyalty to Big Meech is interesting,
Yeah.
especially considering that he has a history of being very vocal about not associating with anyone who he believes has cooperated with the authorities.
Oh, really?
In the past, he's been incredibly harsh towards others who have faced similar accusations of snitching.
Okay, so his unwavering support for Big Meech, even with the snitching allegations swirling around,
Right.
definitely raised some eyebrows.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were surprised, especially considering his past behavior.
Right, and he even went so far as to suggest that Lil Meech should stand up to 50 Cent.
Oh, wow.
Which is a pretty bold move considering 50's reputation.
Yeah, 50 Cent's not someone you want to mess with.
Yeah.
And predictably, 50 Cent didn't take too kindly to that.
Right.
He fired back at Boosie,
Okay.
calling him out for supporting someone accused of snitching and highlighting the hypocrisy of his stance,
Right.
you know? And he even brought up those leaked text messages again,
Oh, gosh.
specifically pointing out how Lil Meech was praising 50 Cent while simultaneously taking money from Rick Ross.
And of course, the internet went wild.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was weighing in on the situation,
Everybody had an opinion.
debating who was in the right and who was in the wrong.
Yeah, it's a huge debate online.
But through it all, Boosie stood his ground, refusing to back down from his commitment to Big Meech.
Yeah, he really stuck to his guns.
Yeah.
It's a complex situation, for sure.
It really is.
On one hand, you have this code of loyalty and the importance of standing by your people.
Right.
On the other hand, you have the seriousness of the snitching allegations
Right.
and the potential damage they could do to someone's reputation.
It's a tough call.
Yeah.
And it really makes you think about where the line is drawn
Yeah.
between loyalty and accountability, especially in a culture where street credibility and authenticity are so highly valued.
Right. And this whole saga really highlights how these feuds aren't just about personal disagreements.
Right.
They're also about power dynamics, image, and the control of narratives.
It's like a game of chess where each move is calculated
Yeah.
and the stakes are incredibly high and it's all playing out in the public eye, fueled by social media and the constant demand for attention.
Absolutely. It's a whole different world now with social media. It's a high-stakes game for sure, and the consequences can be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened with Lil Meech. 50 Cent didn't just call him out. He actively tried to sabotage his career.
Right.
It makes you wonder if 50 was really trying to make an example out of him to show everyone what happens when you cross him.
Yeah, it's possible 50 Cent definitely has a history of using his platform to settle scores and put people in their place.
Oh, sure.
But Lil Meech didn't just back down and disappear. He actually linked up with Rick Ross and Floyd Mayweather.
Really?
Yeah, posting pictures with them on social media as a show of defiance.
So he's not backing down.
No, it's like he's saying, I'm not afraid of you, 50 Cent. I've got my own powerful allies.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's a power move, for sure.
Sure. It's a reminder that these feuds often involve these shifting allegiances and strategic partnerships.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes you realize that these conflicts aren't always clear-cut black and white situations. There are often multiple layers of loyalty, ambition, and personal history at play.
Exactly. And you see that reflected in another feud we're going to explore today.
Okay.
The ongoing tension between Jim Jones and Cameron.
Okay.
Now, these two are fellow members of the iconic Dipset rap group,
Right.
a group that helped define the sound of New York hip-hop in the early 2000s.
Okay, I've got to admit, I'm fascinated by their relationship.
Yeah.
It's like a never-ending saga of disagreements
Yeah.
and reconciliations and then more disagreements.
It really is. What's particularly interesting about their feud is how they seem to be both fueling it and exploiting it
Right.
for their own gain.
Yeah.
It's this weird mix of genuine animosity and a savvy understanding of how to generate attention in the age of social media.
That's what I find so perplexing. Like, it's hard to tell what's real and what's calculated. I mean, Jim Jones even admitted in a recent interview that he knows exactly how the algorithm works and how to use it to his advantage.
And that's a crucial point.
Yeah.
The algorithm in this context refers to the way social media platforms determine what content gets seen by users.
Right.
It's all about engagement.
Yeah.
You know, likes, comments, shares,
Yeah.
and controversial content tends to perform really well.
Right.
So by stirring up drama with Cameron, Jim Jones knows he's likely to get more eyeballs on his own content, even if it's negative attention.
So it's like they're playing a game using their feud to stay relevant
Yeah.
in a constantly evolving digital landscape.
Right.
But is that sustainable in the long run?
I mean,
At some point, doesn't the drama start to overshadow the music?
that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
between using controversy to boost your profile and risking the integrity of your art. And in the case of Jim Jones and Cameron, their latest back and forth is a perfect example of this.
Oh, yeah, this one was pretty wild. Jim Jones basically went on a rant about Cameron's physical appearance,
Yeah, what was that all about?
saying that he needed to go on a diet and get his life together.
Oh.
He even made some jokes about Cameron's weight, which just seemed kind of unnecessary.
Right, it felt like a low blow, even for a hip-hop feud.
Yeah,
But it definitely got people talking.
right,
And that, in a sense, is the point.
right.
It's about generating buzz, even if it's at the expense of someone else's feelings.
It's a bit disheartening,
Yeah.
to be honest. It makes you wonder if there's any genuine respect left between them.
Yeah. I mean, where do you draw the line?
I mean, Jim Jones claims that he essentially created Dipset,
Really?
that he can't be discredited as a core member despite all the conflicts.
Okay.
But at the same time, he's constantly undermining Cameron and trying to diminish his contributions.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of insecurity there, a need for validation.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if Jim Jones feels threatened by Cameron's legacy and is trying to assert his own dominance within the group.
Yeah, it makes me think about their history. I mean, their feud goes way back, stemming from disagreements over business music, and even their respective boroughs, Harlem versus the Bronx.
Right? Those territorial allegiances can be fierce in hip-hop, especially in New York City. It's not just about geography. It's about representing your roots and claiming your space
Right.
within the cultural landscape.
And in this case, it seems like those old wounds never fully healed. I mean, Jim Jones even challenged Cameron to a $10 million boxing match,
Boxing match.
saying it would generate massive attention and revenue.
Wow, that's a pretty audacious move, and it perfectly illustrates how these feuds can blur the lines between personal conflict and business opportunity.
Right.
It's a spectacle, a money-making venture, and a way to settle scores all at the same time.
It's almost like they're turning their feud into a brand,
Yeah.
a form of entertainment in itself.
Right.
But it also makes you wonder if they'll ever be able to truly reconcile, or if this animosity is just too deeply ingrained.
It's hard to say, but what's clear is that their relationship is a microcosm of the complexities and contradictions that exist within hip-hop culture.
Right.
It's a world where competition and collaboration are constantly intertwined, where loyalty can be both a virtue and a weapon, and where the pursuit of fame and fortune often comes at a high cost.
It really is a complicated world, and it makes you wonder if some of these feuds are actually beneficial in a strange way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they generate buzz, they keep people talking, and they can even inspire some pretty epic diss tracks.
There's definitely a historical precedent for that. Think about some of the most iconic moments in hip-hop history.
Right.
You know, the East Coast versus West Coast rivalry.
Right.
The battles between Jay-Z and Nas, the back and forth between Drake and Meek Mill.
Right.
These conflicts, they capture the public's imagination,
Yeah.
and they often push the artists to create some of their most memorable work.
I see what you mean. It's like the conflict itself becomes a source of creative fuel.
Yeah,
Forces the artists to step up their game and prove themselves.
exactly.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line between healthy competition and all-out war. You know, things can easily spiral out of control, leading to violence, legal trouble, and lasting damage to reputations.
Yeah.
And those consequences extend beyond the individuals involved.
So these feuds don't just impact the artists themselves.
No, not at all. They can have a ripple effect throughout the entire industry.
Okay.
Think about collaborations, for example. If two artists are feuding, they're probably not going to be making music together.
Right.
And that means fans are missing out on potential collaborations that could have been incredible.
That's a good point. And then there's the impact on the fans themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be really disheartening to see your favorite artists constantly at each other's throats, you know?
Right.
It kind of takes away from the enjoyment of the music.
It definitely can, and it raises questions about what we as fans are supporting when we engage with these feuds. You know,
Right.
Are we perpetuating the drama? Are we contributing to a toxic environment?
Yeah.
These are things worth considering.
It's a lot to think about, but before we get too deep into the ethical implications, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about Suge Knight.
Okay.
He recently gave his side of the story regarding an alleged encounter between his entourage and Eminem back in the day.
Oh, this is a good one. Suge Knight, the former CEO of Death Row Records,
Right.
is a legendary figure in hip-hop, but also a very controversial one.
Right.
He has a reputation for being ruthless and intimidating. So his take on this alleged incident is definitely worth exploring.
For years, there have been rumors circulating about death row members confronting Eminem on the set of 50 Cent's In Die Club video shoot.
Right.
Some even claim that a gang member named Gang Steve was involved.
Right, and these rumors have persisted for so long because they tap into these larger-than-life personas
Yeah.
of both Suge Knight and Eminem. They both represent a certain kind of authenticity and street credibility that makes this alleged encounter all the more compelling.
So what's Suge Knight's version of events?
Well, he claims that he actually intervened to prevent a fight
Oh, wow.
and that Eminem's team exaggerated the whole incident.
Okay.
He even says that he ended up with a parole violation because of it.
Interesting. So he's positioning himself as the peacemaker, not the aggressor.
Right.
But it's hard to know how much of that to believe,
Yeah.
considering his reputation.
Exactly. We have to take his account with a grain of salt.
Hmm.
But it's still a fascinating perspective,
Wow.
and it raises questions about the reliability of narratives, especially in a world where image and perception are so carefully crafted.
It makes you realize that there are always multiple sides to every story, and the truth is often somewhere in the middle.
Absolutely, and that's what makes these deep dives so engaging.
Right.
We're not just rehashing gossip. We're trying to unpack these complex situations, understand different perspectives, and get a little closer to the truth.
Speaking of getting closer to the truth, let's circle back to the Big Meech situation and those snitching allegations.
Okay.
We've talked about the rumors and the accusations, but there's actually some hard evidence that we need to examine.
Right, there's a court document from a drug trafficking case
Okay.
that involves individuals connected to Big Meech, and this document contains testimonies that allege Big Meech was involved in coordinating drug deals from prison.
Okay, so this is more than just hearsay. We're talking about official records
Right.
and sworn statements.
Exactly, and at the center of this controversy is a woman named Tammy Cowens,
Okay.
who claims to have had close ties with Big Meech. She became a DEA confidential informant, and her testimony is particularly damning.
What does she reveal?
Well, Tammy Cowens testified that she was romantically involved with her DEA handler, an agent named Keith Cromer,
Oh, wow.
and that he was the one who directed her to connect with people involved in drug trafficking.
Wow.
She even claims he used DEA funds to pay her rent.
That's some serious corruption. It makes you wonder if the whole investigation was compromised.
It definitely raises questions about the integrity of the investigation and the motivations of those involved.
Yeah.
But it gets even more complicated. Well, Tammy Cowens later denied some of the statements that she made in the documents.
Oh, wow.
Leaving room for speculation and unanswered questions, it's unclear what her true motivations are or how much of her testimony is reliable.
It's all so murky and convoluted. It's like trying to untangle a giant knot.
But that's what makes this deep dive so compelling.
Right.
We're trying to make sense of this complex and often contradictory set of events. And in the process, we're gaining insights into the dark underbelly of the hip-hop world, the allure of power and the consequences of choices made under pressure.
It's a reminder that the world of hip-hop is a reflection of our own society with all its complexities, contradictions, and moral dilemmas.
Well said. And as we've explored these stories today, I think we've learned that it's essential to approach this culture with a critical eye, to question the narratives we're presented with, and to recognize the human stories at the heart of it all.
Absolutely. So as you continue to navigate the world of hip-hop, remember to dive deep, stay informed, and always question what you see and hear. Until next time, keep it real.